Well, good morning again. Just like I said, we're going to look at the 12 spies going into the promised land. God had a wonderful plan for his people. They would conquer the nation that inhabited the land of Canaan, and then the land would be theirs. But the Israelites' chance to take their land quickly evaporated in the summer heat of the Sinai desert when they refused to trust the might and mercy of the Lord. There's a lot of verses here. We will not read all of them this morning. Actually, the first section. Looking at selected verses there. First three verses in Numbers 13. The Lord said to Moses, "Send some men to explore the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelites. From each ancestral tribe send one of its leaders." So at the Lord's command, Moses sent them out from the desert of Paran. All of these were leaders of the Israelites. Verses 4 through 16 lists all the names, and I don't want to get tongue-tied. Then in verse 17, when Moses sent them to explore Canaan, he said, "Go up through the Negev and on into the hill country. See what the land is like and whether the people who live there are strong or weak, few or many. What kind of land do they live in? Is it good or bad? What kind of towns do they live in? Are they unwalled or fortified? How is the soil? Is it fertile or poor? Are there trees on it or not? Do your best to bring back some of the fruit of the land." It was the season for the first grapes, ripe grapes. So they went up and explored the land. Just an interesting note in verse 23, it says they cut off a branch bearing a single cluster of grapes. Two of them carried it on a pole between them along with some pomegranates and figs. Kind of big, huh? Then you get to verse 25. At the end of the 40 days, he returned from exploring the land. They came back to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the desert of Paran. There they reported to them in the whole assembly and showed them the fruit of the land. They gave Moses this report. "We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is its fruit. But the people who live there are powerful, and their cities are fortified and very large. We even saw descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites lived in the Negev, the Hittites, Jebusites, and Amorites lived in the hill country, and the Canaanites lived near the sea and along the Jordan." And Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, "We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it." But the men who had gone up with him said, "We can't attack these people. They're stronger than we are." And they spread among the Israelites a bad report about the land they had explored. They said, "The land we explored devours those living in it. All the people we saw there are of great size. We saw Nephilim there, the descendants of Anak, come from Nephilim. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them." All right. Couple of questions here. First one there. Moses sent representatives from each of the 12 tribes north into the promised land. What was their mission?
Just scout it out.
Scout it out. Investigate it, go through, see if they're weak or strong, how the cities were the land good or bad. How about you? The purpose of their mission was not to help decide whether or not they should attack. They knew what God wanted them to do. So why do you think Moses sent the men to spy on the land?
Check their faith for one thing.
Okay. And how did God describe the land?
Flowing with milk and honey.
Yeah, very beautiful, prosperous land. He wanted them to see it with their own eyes and bring back a report. Perhaps it was an opportunity to develop some strategy on how they were going to attack. Well, number 3, Thanksgiving time, many individuals and churches display cornucopias. What's the value of such displays?
How the Lord blessed us.
you get to see how God has blessed us tremendously. I mean, look at the blessings that we have. Like I said in the sermon, we pray for our daily bread in the Lord's Prayer. How many of us would survive at home without leaving for a week?
We'd be pretty skinny.
Was it?
We'd be pretty thin.
So that would be his fault if you
But,
didn't eat.
you know, if you look at it, Americans are so fat today anyways. I'm sorry. I didn't point at you, Bob. Why? Look at the garbage at McDonald's sometimes. How much food gets tossed in our country?
It's thrown away, yeah.
And I remember my grandma, boy, you don't dare throw food away in her house.
What you took on your plate, you ate.
Oh, we had to eat it. Well, starving kids in China, I remember that.
Well, we had Africa.
Africa, that's what it was. All right.
We in Europe.
Number 4, the majority report from the 12 spies contained good news and bad news. What was the report? How would this information discourage them from entering the land? What was the land like?
Full of milk and honey.
Oh, it was just how God said it was. I mean, look at the grapes they brought back, the pomegranates, the figs, and things like that. What was also in their report?
How big
You
the
know,
cities
the
were.
cities
were- people are big.
Fortified.
Yeah, they got there. And they didn't think they could conquer the land. Very pessimistic, weren't they? Well, 5, what's the difference between the way Caleb viewed the land and the way the rest of the spies viewed it?
Well, Caleb viewed it that it was, the Lord wants them to have this land, and he would bless their effort to get the land.
Sure. Caleb trusted in God, didn't he? He knew, who cares if those guys are big? We have God on our side. He promised to give us this land. Caleb looked at solution. We're going to do it. Whereas the other 10 said, oh, no, fearful, we can't do it, and so on. How about 6? Many people today view challenges the way the 10 spies did. Others, like Caleb, are able to look to God for solutions. Discuss different ways people might react to the following situation. Teenage daughter breaks the news she's pregnant.
You wouldn't have been pregnant if God wouldn't have left your baby.
Okay. I mean, negative part is mom and dad's probably going to get mad, right? Parents are going to get angry, resentful, too young, irresponsible, or so on. Positive, God does give life, doesn't he? And
And let's not destroy it.
Yeah, it's
Correct.
another soul for God.
I mean, you look at the way, was it Nebraska or Iowa just passed the law, the heartbeat law? Iowa. There's a heartbeat, can't abort. And there's another state down south, Tennessee, I think. They just passed something like that too. And of course, then you get New York, where a baby comes out kicking and screaming at the end of the abortion, you kill it.
Yeah.
What's the value of life?
I was amazed to learn, I recently heard a speaker from Lutherans for Life, that in the state of Wisconsin, they cannot provide an abortion until an ultrasound is done.
Good. What's the purpose behind that?
Because
Baby
you're
gets
gonna
bigger
see
and,
it.
You can see it, I think
You
see
listen
it.
to,
Listen.
you can tell if a person is pro-life or pro-death, I like to call it. How do they refer to them?
fetus and
Yeah,
baby.
but no, it's what is it?
Bob.
They
No,
don't
it's
call it,
tissue.
they don't
Tissue.
call it a baby. I've asked doctors once in a while when I've met with doctors, I'll just ask them a general question to see what their answer is. Are they going to answer with the word fetus or baby? Gives me a little clue on where they are. How about number, second part there? I don't think we have to worry about this. Hurricane blows the roof off a church. Church has already been struggling, sometimes even late in paying the pastor. Now has the additional challenge of replacing the roof.
Call your insurance man.
Well, we aren't covered for that much. There are certain things they won't cover.
You put your trust in the Lord that if you go to rebuild, He will provide the means to do it.
If He wants you to survive, you will. And
Usually it brings, bring a congregation
a lot of times
together.
brings congregation back together. They look at it and they go, okay, the Lord sent us a curveball, but we can work with it. And I always laugh at St. Peter when the tornado went through. I remember talking to Pastor Brown, and he says, well, we had a building project that we weren't going to look at for 5 years. God just moved our timetable up a little bit.
Plus, we got insurance.
And those things happen. You know, your church basement floods out. There's been a number of churches that have been flooded out this year.
Yeah.
Last one, fathers disabled in an accident. Teenage children have to get jobs in order to help pay the bills. A lot of teens, how are they going to look at it?
Grudgingly, oh my word, I have to work.
Yeah. They get resentful. I'm going to miss all this fun with my friends and things like that. Maybe I can't go to college at this time. But on the positive, it gives them a chance to grow, to get a little responsibility.
Makes them grow up a little quicker.
Sure. I mean, you look at, I just read something a week or so ago about the percentage of Americans that know how to drive a stick shift.
I do.
How many here know how to drive a stick shift?
Poorly, but.
Yeah.
But you can get it to go.
There's only a couple of cars
Yep, that's the
that you can buy now that you can get a stick shift for.
I sent this kids out to
Now, if I would have asked that question 40 years ago,
What are you talking
every hand would have gone up. Because how many teenage boys and girls were on the farm and they were driving things with a stick when they were 10 years old? I still remember a couple of my classmates grew up on a farm and they got the driver's ed and they just laughed. They knew how to do all that stuff. A little bit smaller in the car, but I mean, learning how to do these things. I know my kids were not always thrilled, but I made all my kids learn how to drive a stick. I said, what happened? I said, if you can drive a stick, you can drive anything. I'm so amazed. I was talking to a guy at the motorcycle shop once, and some young teenager came in and bought a motorcycle, but he couldn't drive it away because he had to get his permit that afternoon. And so his buddy drove the motorcycle home for him. He was going to drive his buddy's pickup truck. Had to come in and say, I don't know how to drive a stick. And this kid is going to be on a motorcycle? You have to know how to drive a stick to drive a motorcycle. That's just an accident waiting to happen. Okay, let's look at the next section here. Numbers 14. That night, all the people of the community raised their voices and wept aloud. All the Israelites grumbled against Moses and Aaron, and the whole assembly said to them, if only we had died in Egypt, or in the desert. Why is the Lord bringing us to this land only to let us fall by the sword? Our wives and children will be taken as plunder. Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt? And they said to each other, we should choose a leader and go back to Egypt. Moses and Aaron fell face down in front of the whole Israelite assembly gathered there. Joshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, were among those who had explored the land, tore their clothes, and said to the entire Israelite community, "The land we passed through and explored is exceedingly good. If the Lord's pleased with us, he will lead us into that land, a land flowing with milk and honey, and will give it to us. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not be afraid of the people of the land, because we will swallow them up. Their protection is gone, but the Lord is with us. Do not be afraid of them." But the whole assembly talked about stoning them. Then the glory of the Lord appeared at the tent of meeting to all the Israelites. The Lord said to Moses, "How long will these people treat me with contempt? How long will they refuse to believe in me in spite of all of the miraculous signs I have performed among them? I will strike them down with a plague and destroy them, but I will make you into a nation greater and stronger than they." Moses said to the Lord, "Then the Egyptians will hear about it. By your power you brought these people up from among them, and they will tell the inhabitants of this land about it. They have already heard that you, O Lord, are with these people, and that you, O Lord, have been seen face to face, that your cloud stays over them, and that you go before them in a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. You put these people to death all at one time. The nations who have heard this report will say, heard report about you will say, the Lord was not able to bring these people into the land he promised them on earth. So he slaughtered them in the desert. Now may the Lord's strength be displayed just as you have declared. The Lord is slow in anger, abounding in love, and forgiving sin and rebellion. Yet he does not leave the guilty go unpunished. He punishes the children for the sin of the fathers to the third and fourth generation. Excuse me. In accordance with your great love, forgive these people, just as you have pardoned them from the time they left Egypt until now. All right. Let me get a drink here. So that'll help. Number 7. Israelites' complaints were not only against Moses and Aaron, but also against God. What were they insinuating about God?
God wasn't as powerful as those men out there.
Sure. They implied also he wasn't so smart, was he? They brought him out here in the desert to die. They didn't have enough to get him into the promised land. It's really an affront to God. Oh, I wish we were back in Egypt. How is it a slap in God's face when we complain?
We should be thankful for the blessings he gives us.
We think we know better, right? We aren't happy with what he does give us. Anyway, yes.
Like you said in the sermon, it's a slap in his face. We are not trusting him to take care of us.
Sure. You know, we'll sit here and we'll say, like I said in the sermon, I trust Jesus for forgiveness, for heaven and everything else. Is he going to take care of your physical needs this afternoon? Or are you going to worry about tomorrow? How am I going to make ends meet? We worry about these things. Why? It's really a slap in his face. Yeah.
If God didn't want to destroy us, he wouldn't have brought us into this world.
He has a reason. Now, it's like when I visit somebody, a 99-year-old woman, and says, why am I still here? God has a reason. I don't always know what it is, but your purpose in life is to spread his glory. Maybe you got one more person you have to tell in the nursing home. Who knows?
And a few more prayers to be said.
What was it?
A few more prayers to be said.
Yep. Maybe you aren't one to tell, but you're one to pray. We always forget prayer is powerful. And do we do it? You know, you look at, make a list of who you can pray for. And just go down it. It takes a while.
Never lump them all together.
There are times I do that. There are times 9 grandkids, got it. So you lump it together, there are times when, I want to pray for Bob today. Or I'm not going to pray for Leanne, but, you know. But no, you go through and you can just think of all the people you know, just say a word about them. I mean, how many of you go through the membership list and say, I haven't seen this person in a while, Mark, can you move your heart a little bit? Or this person isn't feeling good, can you do something? I mean, it doesn't mean you have to do a whole paragraph with everybody. Say, Lord, do you know what this person's need is, can you take care of it? But at least remember the person in your prayer. Number 9, according to Caleb and Joshua, why should the Israelites have rejected the advice of the 10 spies?
Because the Lord has kept his promise. He brought them out, and he said it was a land of milk and honey, and he promised that he would be with them.
He would win the victory for them. Trust him. Well, 10, imagine that at a voters' meeting at a small mission congregation, a man stands up to speak. I think we have to relax our communion practices a little, they said. I know we believe in close communion, but some of our leaders refuse to come back after they said they weren't invited to take communion. If we want to grow, we have to change. How much you use the account of 12 spies to encourage your brother in Christ as you speak? It should be truth, not trust in love. Maybe it's time to reteach communion practices. That is God's will. Trust God.
We don't want to change God's word, don't
That's
we?
the thing. You don't change God's word. And too many churches are throwing God's word aside. Of course, when you do that, what do you got left?
Nothing.
You got nothing left. A lot of people look at God and everything with human logic. Is God logical?
No,
Does he have to be?
no.
No, he doesn't. How about 11? What was God's complaint against Israel and what did he threaten?
He's going to destroy them.
He's going to destroy them. They were treating him with contempt, weren't they? And interesting, he says, like Moses, I'm going to make you into a greater and stronger nation than they are. And of course, 12, Moses pleaded with God not to carry out that plan. What reason did he give?
What would the Egyptians and other nations, they all know that God was very powerful. He was in with that cloud and a pillar of fire. And, he wasn't strong enough to get the people, to get the...
Couldn't quite get them all the way in.
Therefore, they'll be slaughtered.
Really what Moses came down to is, remember, you made a promise, God. I'm going to hold you to your promise. And that's something we can do too. God says he's going to make everything work for the good of those who love him. There are times you can pray to God, I'm holding you to your promise here. Of course, we don't always see the good.
Yeah, but maybe our isn't what God has really in store for us.
Yeah, we might not see the good till 5 years from now. Maybe we aren't going to see it until we get to heaven. All right. Where are we here? 13. Why is God's faithfulness such a comfort when we think about our sins?
Heaven is ours.
Can you imagine if he said, no, maybe not today? If God was not faithful to his promise. I mean, can you imagine mom and dad treated us that way? I don't love you today. I did yesterday. Maybe tomorrow. But God isn't that way. Since I loved you yesterday, I love you today, I'm going to love you tomorrow. He doesn't go back on his word, does he? Which is amazing when you think about it. When God makes a promise, it always happens. And think of how many promises we have made, in good faith. And we didn't keep them. Sure, I'll take you out fishing Saturday. And something came up and we didn't get out. Okay, let's look at the last section here. The Lord replied, let me get a drink. Make somebody else read it this morning. The Lord replied, I have forgiven them as you asked. Nevertheless, as surely as I live and as surely as the glory of the Lord fills the whole earth, not one of these men who saw my glory and the miraculous signs I performed in Egypt and in the desert, but who disobeyed me and tested me 10 times, not one of them will ever see the land I promised on oath to their forefathers. No one who has treated me with contempt will ever see it. But because my servant Caleb has a different spirit and follows me wholeheartedly, I will bring him into the land he went to, and his descendants will inherit it. Since the Amalekites and the Canaanites are living in the valleys, turn back tomorrow and set out toward the desert along the route to the Red Sea. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, how long will this wicked community grumble against me? I have heard the complaints of these grumbling Israelites, so tell them, as surely as I live, declares the Lord, I will do to you the very thing I heard you say. In this desert your bodies will fall, every one of you 20 years old or more, who was counted in the census and who has grumbled against me. Not one of you will enter the land I swore with uplifted hand to make your home, except Caleb, son of Jehu, and Joshua, son of Nun. As for your children that you said would be taken as plunder, I will bring them to enjoy the land you have rejected. But you, your bodies will fall in the desert. Your children will be shepherds here for 40 years, suffering for your unfaithfulness until the last of your bodies lies in the desert. For 40 years, 1 year for each of the 40 days you explored the land, you will suffer for your sins and know what it is like to have me against you. I, the Lord, have spoken, and I will surely do these things to the whole wicked community which is banded together against me. They will meet their end in this desert, here they will die. So the men Moses had sent to explore the land had returned and made the whole community grumble against him by spreading a bad report about it. These men responsible for spreading a bad report about the land were struck down and died of the plague before the Lord. Of the men who went to explore the land, only Joshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Jehu, I can't even pronounce his name this morning, survived. When Moses reported this to all the Israelites, they mourned bitterly. Early the next morning, they went up towards the high hill country. We have sinned, they said. We will go up to the place the Lord promised. But Moses said, why are you disobeying the Lord's command? This will not succeed. Do not go up, because the Lord is not with you. You will be defeated by your enemies, for the Amalekites and Canaanites will face you there. Because you have turned away from the Lord, he will not be with you, and you will fall by the sword. Nevertheless, in their presumption, they went up toward the high hill country, though neither Moses nor the ark of the Lord's covenant moved from the camp. Then the Amalekites and the Canaanites who lived in that hill country came down and attacked them and beat them down all the way to Hormah. Should have listened, huh? Kind of interesting, the section before it speaks about how everybody had heard what God had done in Egypt. And by the time they later get to Jericho, those people are shaking in their boots, even though it's 40 years later. All right, first, number 14 there. Instead of destroying the Israelites in the wilderness, what did God do?
Made them wonder.
Okay, first of all, he forgave them. But then, you're going to wonder. There were consequences to their sins. What happened?
They wandered till those above 20 died.
All those 20 and older died. They had seen the miracles God had done in Egypt. They weren't going to make it. Exception. There were two.
Joshua and Caleb.
Joshua and Caleb. How come they were spared?
Because they gave a good report.
They were the only ones that came back and said, yeah, we gotta take the land. The other 10 said, no, it's a night. Well, if they were forgiven, why were there still consequences for their sins? Verse 34 kind of talks about that.
They suffered along with all of the rest, that they couldn't go in.
They were going to learn what it was to be against God, or to have God against them. I mean, you look at, they were going to see the seriousness of sin. There are consequences of sin today. You're forgiven, but
Still, there's a-
sure, you're forgiven if you got drunk last night.
You can have-
Consequence is, you have a headache this morning. There are some consequences that come. You want to play with God's gift of sex, you may end up with a disease. There are consequences to certain things. All right, 16. Even though God does forgive sins, what might the consequence of following sin, and how might God bless family through the consequence? Family begins to drift away from God as the father becomes very successful in business and the family becomes very wealthy. Wealth in and of itself is not wrong. It's not bad.
They got another god, that dollar.
Yeah, the almighty dollar became that person's God. What might God do?
Take it away.
Take it away. out
Can
of
take it away
business.
just as quickly, right? Maybe the business falters a little bit. Maybe sickness comes. What's the most important thing? Kind of interesting, you talk to people who have had near-death experiences or had cancer or whatever, and they were cured. They look at life a little bit differently. They realize car, money, those aren't the most important things. God is. Your priorities get changed a little bit. How about 17? The Israelite reaction to God's judgment was at first admirable, but then disappointing. Why? What was admirable?
They repented. They
We sinned.
Yeah.
They admitted that they had sinned. But then what did they do?
They went ahead anyway.
Oh, we're going to go up, we're going to take the land now, God. All's forgiven, we're sorry. And God said, no, you're not going to go up there. They didn't want to go into the wilderness, did they? Well, what lesson did the Israelites learn when they acted on their own without God's permission or power?
They were defeated.
They were defeated. God told them, don't go up there. If you do, you're going to lose. Sure, listen, huh? But they did. Well, the summary there, the Israelites rebelled against God by refusing to march against the land He had promised them. But at the same time, He showed the seriousness of their sin. The Lord revealed His immeasurable mercy. Still today, the God who forgives us in Jesus uses the consequence of our sin in a way that will bless us. Do you have any questions? Yes.
The Old Testament refers to this place called the Negev. Where is that? Or what is that?
It's a desert area.
It's
The Negev, it basically is a wilderness. It's a certain area. You got a map here? Okay, if you look at where the Promised Land is, if the Promised Land is here, Egypt's down here, the Red Sea is here. Between the Red Sea and up there, it's not a huge area. Got a map there?
Well, they're showing, yep, there you go.
Kind of little.
It should bring it up.
Come on. Google Maps is great. No, I don't want directions there. I'm curious how long it'd tell me. Well, it's searching. But it's an area between the Red Sea and the Promised Land. A little bit south.
There you go.
Right there.
a Okay.
They don't refer to that today, do they?
No, no.
Yeah.
I forget what it is called
We
now.
searched it for the kids.
It's like
Yeah.
south of the
Yeah.
Gaza Strip, southeast of the Gaza Strip.
I'm not even positive where the Gaza Strip is. All I know is they're fighting over a little piece of land there.
It's there.
Yeah, it's not, you know, you look at a map like this, it is not as big as you
That's
think
like
it might
the
be.
second one, so.
Israel itself would fit in between Mankato and the cities. It's not very big at all. I still remember a classmate of mine was over there and back in kind of the 70s or 80s, and Israel had their fighter jets up there. If they were going east-west, they had to turn around over the Mediterranean. Couldn't turn around over the land. Too narrow. Not a big area. Anybody been to Israel?
No, dangerous territory.
I don't have any desire to go there myself. I can look online and see maps. Does that help answer your question? Google comes in handy.
It was
Not always right though.
It was a worthless piece of property. wasn't it?
Oh yeah,